From an NLP perspective, there's actually a technique where we can increase motivation neurologically. So for those of you that are listening on the program, just think for a moment, a time in which that you felt really motivated. Whenever that was, maybe you were motivated to study for a test or pass it, or you were motivated to win a race, or you were motivated to pursue your bride, whatever it is, a time in which that you were motivated. Now close your eyes, think about that, go back to that time, that specific time, see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. Just feel that motivation on the inside and notice, where do you feel that motivation in your body? Is it in your heart? Is it in your solar plexus? Is it in your gut? Maybe in your head? Just notice when you go back to that time, see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, and just get a sense of that motivation. Where do you feel it in your body? And as you feel that motivation in your body, it's going to be spinning one of four directions, either forwards or backwards, to the left or to the right. And so whichever way it's spinning, I want you to spin it that way even bigger. So let's just say that it was spinning forward. And just imagine moving it faster and faster and bigger and bigger. And as you do that, you can actually literally feel the sense of motivation increase in your neurology. That is an example of the power of NLP.
Nice. I know I've done some work with the NLP. Is that one, that's the anchoring, or am I?
Nope. Anchoring is when you go back to the time, which the script for that is very similar. You go back to that time and you revivify that feeling, and then you get a button. I call it a happy button when I'm working with my clients. But that's where you get a button to revivify and make that emotion or that feeling come back again, which you could use anchoring for that as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, because
you can create a motivation anchor.
Yeah, like squeeze your hand and all of a sudden you're feeling motivated to do something. Yeah, squeeze the hand and now I'm Superman. Let's go.
How many of us have watched Popeye growing up, right? As soon as he squeezes the can and the spinach pops out, we know what's going to happen, right? That's a visual anchor. As soon as he squeezes the can, we go, yep, he's going to get strong. Right. Same thing.
Yeah, no, that's a great example also. And now I wish I had a can of spinach so I could have that. It always fascinated me why his forearms were the one thing that got so much bigger. Like, don't you need bigger shoulders, I guess, for all of that too? But anyway, so in NLP, again, since I've done some work in there, but obviously not as much as you, picking your brain, talking about submodalities and what they are, I guess, like expand on those and kind of explain those, because I think those are a pretty important part for people to kind of understand that are not aware in this realm.
Absolutely. Submodalities are one of my absolutely favorite parts of Neuro Linguistic Programming. Submodalities, its official definition, submodalities are the finer qualities of the senses, which for most people doesn't really resonate. It doesn't make sense. So what I'd like to suggest to you is that we have the senses, the five senses, right? We have sight, sound, touch or feelings, smell, and taste, right? And so those are the senses. Now, if you were to think of a picture of a time when you were happy, go ahead and think of that time when you were happy and get a picture of that time. Now, when you think about that picture, it's either color or black and white. That's an example of a submodality. It's the finer quality of the visual sense. A couple other submodalities of the visual sense. Is it near or is it far away? Is it small or is it big? Is it framed or is it panoramic? These are the submodalities of the visual modality. Likewise, there are also auditory submodalities. The volume is the big one. When we think of negative self-talk, right, we all have that internal critic. When you hear that internal critic, is it at a volume of a 10 or a volume of 7? Recognizing the finer qualities of the auditory sense are the submodalities. Is it a fast-paced speech, or is it slow and drawn out? Is it high really up like this? Or is it low and raspy like this? These are all the finer qualities of the auditory sense. And then the kinesthetic sense, right? When you have a feeling, is it big or small? Where is it at in your body? What color would you say that feeling has if you were going to give it a color? So again, our submodalities are all the finer qualities. Now, why that's important in NLP is that anytime you have a thought, think of anything, that thought is made up of pictures, sounds, and feelings. So it is actually the way our neurology codes our experiences. At the beginning of the program, we talked about the study of subjective experience, right? That has a lot to do with submodalities. When we recognize the recipe of how you experience something, then we can change the submodalities to give you a different experience. So here we go. I'm going to give an example. I'm making this up. It's not true. Please do not try to make this and email me and tell me it was a horrible recipe. I'm pretending here. Let's say that I have the best recipe for brownies, and it's 2 tablespoons of cocoa, 3 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, and 1 cup of flour. I just totally made up that recipe. But let's just say that that is the recipe and you make it and it's the best brownies ever. Now let's think about that. If you had 4 tablespoons of cocoa and kept everything else the same, would that change the outcome of the brownies? Of course it would. If I had the cocoa right and I add 1 egg instead of 3 eggs, what am I going to get? Different kinds of brownies. Let's say I like sugar a lot, and so I put in 6 cups of sugar instead of 3 cups. Is it going to change the reality of my brownies? Yes. So once we get the submodalities of an experience, the recipe of how you code that experience, and we change the submodalities, we bring the picture closer or we move it further apart. We make it bigger or smaller. We make it color or black and white. We turn the volume up or we turn the volume down. We change the submodalities of that experience, and we'll change how you feel about that situation. Every time guaranteed. Because it's like changing the recipe for your neurology. And that's why I love submodalities and why they're so important in working with NLP.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like, again, it sounds like such a simple thing too, to just go in and make subtle little shifts. And so if it's that simple, then what keeps, somebody from falling back, into, well, I'm going to go back to 2 tablespoons of cocoa, for instance, or,
Sure. So in other words, if we change the submodalities for someone, how do we make sure that the change is lasting?
Right.
2 thoughts. First of all, we lock it in. You do the technique dealing with submodalities and you make a sound and you do a hand gesture and you lock in that change, telling your unconscious mind, this is the new way of doing that old thing. So that's the first thing. Second of all, if we're talking about the chocolate cake, because that technique we described earlier, like to dislike, works with submodalities. You spend 10 minutes and you don't like chocolate cake for 6 months. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, chocolate cake sounds really good. Wait a minute. We did that NLP thing. I didn't think I liked it, but yet I'm kind of wanting chocolate cake. Question. Do you have 10 more minutes to do the technique again?
Right. Yeah.
You get to be the driver of your bus.
Well, and that's the beautiful part, is finally having that, taking the wheel instead of letting the subconscious be in the driver. It's makes a world of difference for sure.
One of the analogies that I've heard regarding to the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, the conscious mind is like a passenger on the bus, and the unconscious mind is like the driver on the bus.
Yeah.
If I'm a passenger on the bus, I can say, I want to lose weight. I want to be more financially free. I want to have a better relationship with my wife. I can want all these things and I can yell out these things, but unless I communicate to the unconscious mind is going to be driving the bus. So I need to work with the unconscious mind. I need to talk to the unconscious mind so that I can communicate those desired results. Then the unconscious mind and the unconscious mind and the conscious mind can be in alignment and bring about those results that I desire.
So the unconscious mind is again being in the driver's seat as usual, and they have it's basically running your patterns. Taking being the driver of the bus, it's got the routes, right? So if somebody that's listening wanted to like start noticing one thing about their own patterns and like pay attention to their patterns, like what would you tell them to pay attention to first, I guess?
I'm going to ask for two things. If somebody wanted to start interrupting their old patterns and start changing them, what would they look for? First of all, are regrets. You know, all of a sudden you were talking to these people and you blew up and you walk away and you think, I shouldn't have blown up. That's a good indication that that's a pattern you have, that when this external stimulation takes place, I lose it. And so awareness of the pattern comes from, oh, I wish I would have done that instead. We all have experienced that, right? Oh, I wish I would have kept my mouth shut. I wish I would have said, yes, dear, whatever it is, right? So by studying and becoming aware of the patterns that we want to change, usually hindsight is 20/20, as they say. The second pattern that I'd really encourage people to start paying attention to is our language. Our language shapes our reality because it gives eyes to perspective. And so by becoming aware of the language and the patterns we have in our language will change everything. Neuro Linguistic Programming, right? Neurology, linguistic, programming, linguist, the language, right? If I go around saying, they make me so mad, how am I going to feel? If I'm angry, right? If I say,
Right.
oh, I'm so stressed out, I can't handle this, I'm overwhelmed, and we say all these negative things, how are we going to feel that negative way? So becoming aware of our language and the patterns in our language would really go a long way in making us aware so that we can begin to change those patterns. And when we get to that level, the second step that I would suggest is next time I'm going to, and that way we can begin to set our unconscious mind on what we do want. And next time, even if we blow it again, next time I'm going to do a little bit better. Next time I'm going to say this. Next time I'm going to go for a walk. Next time. Very powerful pattern shift. One of the things that we didn't talk about that we're going to talk about is what is this being at cause versus being at effect? It's one of my favorite NLP principles. And it's, if you remember back in the days when we had the alligator or the Pac-Man eating something, the pattern, the formula of being at cause is C is greater than E. And what that means is being at cause is greater than being at the effect. So what does that mean? Well, anytime that we are at cause, we're focused on the results that we want, the desired outcomes, being forward toward motivated. And when we are getting things that we don't want necessarily, we get focused on our reasons, our list of reasons. And when we focus on our list of reasons, we're being at the effect of someone or something. And that thing can sometimes be ourselves. And so as you think about it, being at cause is greater than being at effect. Results versus reasons. What does that actually look like in a real life scenario? Imagine that I'm late for work and I go up to my boss and say, boss, I'm sorry, I'm late. There was a train. You remember when we were kids, we'd count the trains? There's a train. I counted 200 cars, boss. I'm sorry, I'm late. There was an accident. My goodness, the dog ate my alarm clock. All the reasons that we would give for being late, that puts us at effect of all those external circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen to this, how it's different. Being at cause. Boss, I apologize that I'm late for work. I didn't give myself enough time to get here when I was supposed to be here. Listen to how that sounds so much stronger, more powerful. Being the owner of your life rather than being the victim of your life. Focusing on taking personal responsibility rather than making excuses. When I teach this to people, I always have them consider, so think about your life, and on average, how much are you at cause and how much are you at effect? 80% cause and 20% at effect, they'll say. Maybe 60, 40, 70, 30. Right? They're always more at cause than they are at effect. Until I give them the 3 litmus test for being at effect. Here we go. How to tell if you're being at the effect of someone or something. Anytime that you blame, he, she, they, it, whatever is out there, when you blame, you're at the effect. Anytime that you complain, the dirty dog, shoulda, coulda, woulda, again, this is our list of reasons, but it comes in the form of blaming, complaining. And the third litmus test is if we justify. I couldn't afford the thing. I was up late last night, whatever. We begin to justify. And as soon as I ask them to consider, how often do you blame your boss? How often do you complain about your spouse? How often do you justify not being able to stay motivated or be disciplined, right? As you look at those things and you take another inventory, how much of your life are you being at the effect or being at cause? Every time people realize they're being more at the effect of someone or something more than they had thought they were going to be. And I also like to address this whole issue of, well, but it's not my fault. People get really defensive when you ask them to take personal responsibility.
Well, yeah, big time.
So I tell this story. It's a true story. A few summers ago, I was mowing my lawn in the backyard, and there were 3 kinds of animal poop. As I'm mowing my yard, there's this huge pile and covered it. So huge pile, different color, different shape. Clearly, 3 kinds of animal poop in my backyard. Guess how many animals I own? 0, because I don't want poop in my backyard.
Right.
Now, it's not my fault there's poop in the backyard. However, I can be at cause for the poop in my backyard because I actually chose to live at my house. I chose to live in a place where dogs may come and poop in the backyard. So I have to take personal responsibility. I have to ask the question, what part did I play in those results? That helps me be at cause. Now, I could easily blame the neighbors for not keeping their dog tied up. I could complain about the city for not enforcing the leash laws. And I could justify, do you know how much a privacy fence costs? Oh my goodness. And it sounds so good. When we're talking to our friends and we give our list of reasons, they're like, yeah, down with the doo-doo. But the reality is, if I truly want to be the owner of my life, I have to be a cause for the poop in my backyard.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that specifically, I think when you go that deep with it too, like you said, people don't want to take personal responsibility for things in general, but when you take it to that level, like, no, why do I have to take responsibility for that in my backyard? Clearly that's not my fault. Well, like you said, you chose to live there. Well, again, like, how much do you want to be a victim about this, And man, but like you were saying too, it's so much easier. It's so much more, I don't know if fulfilling is the word, to just push the blame off onto something or somebody else and not have to take responsibility for it, right? So it's unfortunate, but that's become kind of just the commonality in the world. So
I think people would like to know, how do we then go from being at effect to being at cause? And there's one key that helps people go from being at effect to being at cause. And that is, you have to take action in the physical realm. Imagine this. I get a piece of steak that I ordered at the restaurant, and it is shoe leather, and I wanted it medium rare. I could blame the chef. I could complain that the waitress didn't turn the order in right. I can justify, well, they're kind of busy. It's all right. I'll just eat the shoe leather. That puts me at effect of someone or something. But as soon as I take action in the physical realm, excuse me, waitress, I ordered medium rare. Can I please get a new steak? And I take action. Then I get to change my results. I go from being at effect to being at cause. And I get to be the driver of my bus using NLP techniques.
And that's beautiful and brings up a lot more emotional things too, when I'm sure for a lot of people, because now you're thinking about the people pleasing and stuff too. Well, I don't want to bother somebody and all that, but like you said, if you don't, then you're not going to have the results in life that you want. So are you okay with that, or aren't you? So yeah, it's And that comes back to, like we were saying, it's your choice. You choose, whether you want to be, in this case, what you're saying, the at the effect of something or somebody, or if you want to be the cause of why your life is what it is. So that's one of your favorite things to talk about for sure.
Absolutely. My favorite technique to demo is what I call spinning negative emotions. I mean, we all have had negative emotions, right? We're pissed off at someone, or we're sad because things didn't work out the way we wanted them to work. We're stressed out because we got more month at the end of our money. I mean, all these things, right? So I can walk your listeners through this technique, and you can just follow along and play it 100% though. People will sit there across their arms with their eyes wide open and go, it didn't work. Well, they didn't do the technique. They just heard it. They didn't actually do it. I mean,
Right.
it's sort of like if I say, okay, this is how you change a tire, and I give you step-by-step instructions, and you never get the jack out of the trunk, and you say, your instructions didn't work. Well, you'd have to do it. So
Right.
for those of you that are listening, if you play it 100%, guarantee it will work. So a lot of times we're unaware of our negative emotions. We're really good at pushing them down sometimes, especially men, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I want you just to go ahead and close your eyes, and I want you to scan the top of your head to the soles of your feet. That's right. Go ahead and just scan your body and just notice what icky feelings might be there. We don't have to say it's anger or stress. It can be just an icky feeling, a little pinchy here or a little ouchy there. Just notice as you scan from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, is there an emotion, a feeling somewhere in your body that you would like to change? And I'm going to assume that you found it. We all have them stuck in there somewhere. Now, I want you just to notice what's the intensity of that negative emotion. On a scale from 0 to 10, 10 being high, how intense is that negative emotion? And just make a mental note of that. So now as you focus on that negative emotion, whatever we label it as, icky feeling or stress, anger, whatever, I want you just to notice that place where you feel that emotion in your body. And I want you just to imagine that you could look inside your body and notice what color and shape is that negative emotion. Sometimes it's a blue ball. Sometimes it's a red triangle. Sometimes clients will say, well, it's really not a shape. It's like a blob. And I'll say, guess what? A blob is a shape. So just go ahead and focus on what is the color and what is the shape of that negative feeling. And when you have a sense of the color and shape, just make yourself aware of it. You can open your eyes for just a moment now. And I want you to go ahead and, not yet, but in a moment, I want you to do what I'm doing. Let's say that I had this feeling in my chest. And again, as I mentioned earlier in the program, your emotions are always moving one of four ways. They're either moving forwards or backwards or to the left or to the right. So now, what I just did with my fingers, I'm going to have you do. Go ahead and close your eyes. Focus on that negative emotion. Again, wherever it was, wherever the color was, wherever the shape was. And I want you to do what I just did. Make that circle moving forward in front of that place where it is. If it's your head, do it up by your head. If it's your heart or your chest or your gut, wherever that negative feeling is, I want you to go ahead and rotate it forward and then backward. You'll know when you find it because it'll kind of catch, or it'll worsen for just a second. Or is it going to the left or to the right? Go ahead and give it another go in case you didn't catch it the first time. Go ahead and move your hand in a circle, your finger in a circle direction going forward, or is it going backwards, or is it going left, or is it going right? And once you determine which direction that it's going, just make a note. And now pretend that you have magic fingers and you can reach in that place and pull out that color and shape. So if it was blue circles in your heart, pull out those blue circles in your heart, drop it on your lap. If it was orange triangles in your stomach, pull out all the orange triangles. You keep going. Pull it all out until it's all the way out. Keep going. Maybe it was green blobs in your head. Wherever it is, just pull them out, drop them on your lap until they're all out. And when you're convinced to know that they're totally all out, then I want you to pick them up off of your lap, and I want you to spin them the opposite direction. So if they were spinning forward, now I want you to spin them backwards. If they were going backwards, then you spin them forwards. If they were going to the left, you now spin it to the right. If they were going to the right, now you spin them to the left. So you're going to spin them the opposite direction, and you're going to keep spinning it the opposite direction faster and faster, and I'm going to spray paint them a different color. So any color you want, but just different than it was. Imagine that I'm spray painting it a different color. Keep spinning it faster and faster, and when it's all the new color, keep spinning it faster and faster, and then put it back in. Take a deep breath, and just notice how much better it feels. On a scale from 0 to 10, where's that negative emotion now? I guarantee, just like we changed the brownie recipe, it will change the way you feel about it. And then you can lock it in and hold on to that change. It's one of my favorite techniques called spinning emotions.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. Did a little bit there with you and took care of the little tightness in my stomach. So
Very good. Congratulations. Keep the change.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, appreciate it very much. When it comes to the submodalities, are those a part of all the different techniques you were saying? Or is that kind of its own thing, like work, I guess?
Sure. It's a great question, Steve. Submodalities have a lot of different techniques in NLP associated with them, and they are principles of submodalities that are in a lot of other techniques. However, I would say that not every technique truly uses submodalities in the way that we illustrated them just now. One thing, though, I would say about submodalities, and these are generalities, but it will give people that are listening some ideas of, well, what can I do with these submodalities? I'm not trained in NLP, right? Anytime that you expand a submodality, it will make an emotion and experience get greater. So if it's a happy memory and you make the picture bigger and brighter and more colorful, and you add more laughter and you turn up the sounds of the enjoyment of the event, and you make the feeling inside your body bigger, changing the submodalities, making them bigger, will increase that happiness. An example for that label. Likewise, if you shrink a submodality, take a color picture and make it black and white. Take a picture that is close and move it far away. A sound that is really loud, someone breaking in the house, for example, and you remember that event and it's always causing you to feel bad about it. Turn it down. So if you were to turn down a submodality in all those different categories, then it will lessen the negative emotion. So you can increase the positive emotion or decrease the negative emotion with submodalities. So that's a great way to use them in a general sense, making them bigger and brighter, louder. It will make the feeling or the emotion also get bigger or smaller if you shrink it down. I would just say that if any of your listeners wanted to reach out and get a hold of me, they could go to my website, impactseminarsandworkshops.com. Absolutely. They can go to impactcoaching.training. That is a .training, TRAINING, not .com. impactcoaching.training, and you can get testimonials there. You can reach out to me by making a discovery call. A 100 number is on the website as well, and you can get in touch with me, and I'll be glad to help you any way I can.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And then we'll definitely link that along with the episode, so makes it easier for people to find. But awesome stuff, Chuck. I really appreciate you sharing all that with
Thanks,
us.
Steve.
And giving my stomach some good work there at the end.
Glad to help.
Yeah. Glad you're doing all this good work with everybody, and I appreciate you being on again for sure. Doing the good stuff. So yeah. So again, if anybody is looking to do some more work with NLP, talk to Chuck, reach out to him. Otherwise, this has been the podcast for today, the KS Alchemist Podcast. Be sure to follow and subscribe and hang out with us again. I appreciate you all being here, and we'll talk to you next time.